Well, in these last months of his life, I've just so treasured our conversations. At 6:30 a.m. in the morning of July 16th, only a few weeks ago, the morning after his Senate Health Care Committee finished 5 weeks of exhausting work on a bill that he had written, by the way, and that I believe will be one of the greatest of his many legacies, my phone rang in the morning. There was Teddy, beyond ecstatic that we had finished our work and that his committee had been the first to report a bill. Always the competitor, of course. Teddy was never maudlin during these last number of months or self-pitying about his health and his condition. But he was always fully aware of what was happening to him. Every Irishman's dream, of course, is to attend our own eulogies. That's why we call the obituary page the Irish sports page, for those of you not familiar. And I know he enjoyed a uniquely Celtic kick out of hearing people who abhorred his politics say incredibly nice things about him along the way. Volumes, of course, will be published by those attempting to unlock the mystery of why Teddy was such an effective legislator over the years. Was it his knowledge of parliamentary procedure? Was it his political instincts? His passionate oratory? His staff? What was it? Please let me save the pundits and the political scientists some time and all of you some money and tell you what Teddy's secret was. People liked him. Now, he always had a great staff. He always had a great staff and great ideas. But that only counts for so much in the United States Senate if you lack the respect and admiration of your colleagues. And Teddy earned that respect. You'll recall he arrived in Washington as the 30-year-old brother of a sitting United States president and the Attorney General of the United States. Many people drew their conclusions about him before he spoke his first words in the United States Senate. And over the years, of course, he became a target of partisans who caricatured him as a dangerous liberal. Now, liberal he was, and very, very proud of it, I might add. But once you got to know him, as his colleagues did in the Senate, you quickly learned Teddy was no caricature. He was a warm, passionate, thoughtful, tremendously funny man who loved his country deeply and loved the United States Senate. If you ever needed to find Teddy in the Senate chamber, all you had to do was to listen for that distinctive thunderclap of a laugh echoing across the hallowed halls as he charmed his colleagues. He served in the Senate, as all of you know, for almost half a century, alongside liberals and conservatives, Democrats and Republicans. And he befriended, as I said, all of those with equal gusto. It's, of course, great to see his friends, Senator Orrin Hatch and John McCain, here this evening. It is to their, of course, credit that they so often supported Teddy's efforts. And I say in some jest, it is to Teddy's great credit that he rarely supported theirs on efforts. But Teddy's personal friendships with Orrin and John and so many others over this half-century weren't simply the polite working relationships that make possible a politics in our country. They are the very real and lasting bonds that make the United States Senate of our nation work. That's what made Teddy one of our greatest senators ever. Some people born with a famous name live off it. Others enrich theirs. Teddy enriched his. And as we begin the task of summing up all that he has done for our nation and so many others around the world, perhaps we can begin by acknowledging this. John Fitzgerald Kennedy inspired our America. Robert Kennedy challenged our America. And our Teddy changed America. Nearly every important law passed in the last half century bears his mark, and a great many of them, of course, bear his name. Teddy was defined by his love of our country, the passion for public service, his abiding faith, and of course, as Joe has said, his family. His much adored Vicky, his children, Cara, Teddy, and Patrick, Caroline and Curran, his grandchildren, nieces and nephews. All of you need to know, when you weren't around and I was, how often he talked about you and how much pleasure and joy, the unbounded joy and pleasure that you brought to him. Teddy, of course, was a man who lived for others, as Joe has pointed out. He was a champion for countless people who otherwise might not have had one. And he never quit on it, never gave up on the belief that we could make tomorrow a better day, never once. Last August in Denver, 1 year to the day before his passing, Teddy spoke at our national convention. His gait, of course, was shaky, but his blue eyes were clear and his unmistakable voice rang with strength. As he passed the torch to another young president, Teddy said, "The work begins anew. The hope rises again, and the dream lives on." He spoke of the great fight of his life, ensuring that every American, regardless of their economic status, be granted the right to decent health care in our country. We're all so deeply saddened that he did not live to see that battle won. But in a few short days from now, we will return to our work in Teddy's Senate. The blistering days of August will be replaced, I pray, by the cooler days of September. And we will prevail in a way Teddy won so many victories for our nation, by listening to each other, by respecting each other, and the seriousness of the institution to which we belong, and where Teddy earned an immortal place in American history. And as he so eloquently eulogized his brother Bobby 40 years ago, Teddy doesn't need to be enlarged in death beyond what he was in life. We'll remember him for the largeness of his spirit, the depth of his compassion, his persistence in the face of adversity, and the breadth of his achievements. We'll remember him as a man who understood, better than most, that America is a place of incredible opportunity, of incredible hope, and a place of redemption. He labored tirelessly to make those dreams a reality for everyone. Those dreams, the ones he spoke of throughout his life, live on like the eternal flame that marks President Kennedy's grave, that very flame that Teddy and Bobby lit 46 years ago. And in all the years that I've known and loved this man, that eternal flame has never failed but to burn brightly in Teddy's eyes. And now as he rejoins his brothers on that hillside in Arlington, may the light from that flame continue to illuminate our path forward. And with the work of our own hand and the help of Almighty God, inspired by Teddy's example, may we lift up this nation of ours that my friend Teddy loved so much. And I thank you.